Hello and welcome back to Sidetracked Talk Show. Long time no see. Fucking great to be back. I've got some notes and some announcements. The first announcement is there will be a launch of a new, drumroll please, channel, Juggalos Review. That's right, Juggalos Review, a new channel coming very soon to YouTube, about to smack the internet across the face within the next few weeks. I don't want to give any specific date, but the first video for the channel is shot and in the can. I just need to edit the video. I shot that video the same day as I'm shooting this, and I'm excited about it. What the channel is it's Juggalos Review, anything that we can review. Juggalos Review Foods will be on that channel. We will be doing Juggalos Review movies, books, just anything. So I'm very, very excited about that. I've got the channel art and the logo ready to upload. Like I said, I don't have all the details worked out just yet, but I mean, much of like 90% of the channel is ready for launch. So, and another announcement will be coming up very soon as to when specifically you can go find that, and you'll be the first to know. So, yeah, all of my Juggalo content will probably be seen on that channel from there forward. Ross TV has some other shows that are not really Juggalo related content, and it seems to be a weird blend of things. So for all of the future Juggalos Review Foods and mostly all, I don't want to speak out of turn. I might still put some Juggalo related content onto Ross TV, but much of it will be on this new channel. And if you take anything away from this video, this is a big deal, I feel like, to me. So I really would like you to check that out once that channel launches. Check it out and subscribe to it for sure. Juggalos Review. So speaking of other content on Ross TV, one of the shows I speak of is specifically is Toon Tuesday. It's Toon Tuesday. Toon Tuesday's coming back. Yes, and you heard it here first. Very soon. If not this Tuesday, then the coming Tuesday. The episode is done. It's not something I have to edit and work on. I have the first episode. Jumping back into Toon Tuesday is a saved video file ready for upload. So, very exciting, and I'm sorry to have left you guys hanging for so long. That's what this episode of Sidetracked is kind of about. Also, this is an episode of Sidetracked. I'm not wearing my suit. It's more of a dressed-down casual type of a Conan O'Brien sort of a vibe. I'm not sure if you've seen Conan's show lately, but he has his show squashed down to a 30-minute segment instead of an hour, and he doesn't wear like a suit anymore, like a full suit. He wears like a jacket, but underneath is like a t-shirt. It's a little bit more dressed down, more casual. And Conan's show, he just has like a monologue still, and then he'll have like a guest, and then the whole episode will be like the interview basically. So a little bit of change of format if you haven't seen Conan lately. But anyway, back to the main points is I have a myriad of things that have happened in my life to where my YouTube production just went completely onto the back burner. And excuses, but let me get into the specifics as to why I had to take a break. It's almost been a half a year since I've done any new content for Ross TV at all. The last thing I uploaded was a Toon Tuesday for Christmas time, and we're in July now. June. And so, anyways, to start it off with, I had, get ready for this, latent tuberculosis. Okay, let me tell you what that means. I work in a hospital setting, and some of the patients that I come in contact with have tuberculosis. Now, tuberculosis is a type of a thing that, you get in other countries usually. That's why they ask you, have you traveled outside of the United States lately? Every year they test for this, tuberculosis. If you have come into contact and contracted tuberculosis at the hospital your birthday month, they will test you to see if you have this. I've worked at that hospital for 8 years, and in all the 8 years, they're always like, oh, you're fine, negative. But a couple of years ago, they switched. It used to be a type of a test to where they shoot air under your arm, and then if it bubbles up, when you come back 2 days later to have them check it, that means you have tuberculosis. But if it doesn't bubble up, you're fine. I'd always been fine reading no tuberculosis. But 2 years ago, they switched over to a blood test instead of the air test. And the test came back as a retest. Now, I didn't know what that meant. They sent a letter saying, you're supposed to come back and have a retest. Come back. I don't remember the exact date. Let's say they put like November 13th, Friday, was what the letter said. And then in all actuality, on that calendar year, November 13th wasn't a Friday. It was a different day. So their paperwork was all messed up. I didn't know what the retest meant, so I didn't go back for the retest. Fast forward a year later, it's the next year, and you have to get the blood drawn again to see if you have tuberculosis. And the lady said, well, you didn't come back for your retest last year. And so they took the blood test again. This time it came back as a positive reading. So that means I have the tuberculosis germ in my body. But this time I didn't hear anything back from the people. They're supposed to contact you should you have to do anything about a positive reading for tuberculosis. But they did not. Now we're into 2 years of this. So the next year, I went for my check, and they said, you have a positive reading from last year, so we're not even going to do the blood test. You have a positive reading. I don't know why the people from last year didn't follow up with you about this. So the lady this past October was on top of her job and actually put the domino blocks started falling down of like, what am I supposed to do for having not full-blown tuberculosis? Let that be clear. It was latent tuberculosis. I had the tuberculosis germ was active in my body. So what that does is, if it were to become active and you have tuberculosis, it's affecting your lungs and your breathing. So basically, I'd just been going around with this latent tuberculosis germ in my body that was dormant and asleep, and it could become active at any time in my life. And you don't want to have tuberculosis. So what I had to do was I had to start going every Monday for a month's long process. This was like at the near the end of November. It was all of every Monday of December, every Monday of January, and it concluded a week before Valentine's Day, I believe. And it was every Monday I had to go to the health services area in Roanoke. Basically this ghetto area of Roanoke, the same building where you apply for food stamps. I had been in that building before when a friend that I was our roommate from years ago had to apply for food stamps. And so I was familiar with the building, but in that same building is a health center, and I met with people in person every Monday for a couple of months, 2.5 months, every Monday. And I took a handful of pills, a fistful of pills, in front of them every Monday to get rid of the latent tuberculosis germ. So basically why that is because they can't just give you a pill bottle to take home and be like, here, on your own time, just take these pills, hope you'll do it. Because somebody will just go home and like they might take it for 1 week, to the next week, and then the next week they forgot, and then the next week they just stopped doing it altogether. So having tuberculosis, a person that would have tuberculosis become active and out in like the public would become a public health concern and crisis. So you have to take the pills in front of people so that they can see that, yes, you're showing up and taking the pills. It was like a very serious deal. Luckily, all of that was free. This is the paperwork that they sent. Roanoke City and Allegheny Health Districts, Roanoke City Health Department. Check this out. This is a certificate saying that I don't have tuberculosis. It's got like, this is like paperwork. This is like my diploma, basically. It's got all the check marks that I showed up for each of the Mondays, and like this is from the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Health. According to our records, you have received 3 months of therapy with INH and Prifton to prevent tuberculosis. So yeah, they gave me this little document saying that I am totally clear, and the pills that I was taking killed the latent tuberculosis germ. But it was a whole bunch of bullshit. And this, it all is because I work in a hospital setting, and you don't come across patients very often that have tuberculosis, but I have transported them before. And you have to wear like a hood, and it's like hooked up to like a vacuum belt. You almost look like somebody from the Ghostbusters. And I wore the proper it's almost like a hazmat suit. Imagine like a space person hazmat suit. I wore the thing when I had to come in contact with these patients. But somehow, the germ had entered my body, despite all of my best effort to avoid being around tuberculosis sick people. And I had the germ inactive in my body for fucking possibly 2 years, and wasn't doing anything about it. And then now, though, with my certificate that you have just seen, I'm cleared and I don't have the germ in my body anymore. But when I took these pills every Monday, on top of the fact that you have to have every Monday free, one of the days they had to come meet me at my job when I found a break, and like it was like a drive-by, like taking a pill thing. I met them outside, took the pills, and then they left. And they were pretty good about that, about working with you if you like weren't able to make it into their offices. But yeah, every Monday in the morning at 10:30 a.m. I had to always be there and take it was a bunch of pills. It was like one, two, like several pills, large pills, and I just gulp some water and do it. But also with doing this treatment came with like I wasn't able to eat chocolate, tomatoes, eggplants. Before that, I was eating eggplants all the time. I would roast eggplant and eat it. But like if you eat these certain, there was like food restrictions, because when you eat certain foods with these pills, it would increase your heart rate or something, or you'd perspirate. I wasn't allowed to wear contacts because like it had potentially would like yellow them. And it's fucked up shit, you know. I thought anyway. So that's one thing that I was contending with every Monday. Simultaneously, we had to renovate our whole attic space. The property management, see, we have attic access in our apartment, and like we have like our storage of things up here, Halloween tubs and Christmas decorations and various other things, just storage space. But part of the attic is like was unfinished space, exposed insulation, didn't have floorboards, didn't have flooring, only like some of it had some wooden boards for our stuff to set on, and the rest of it was just like exposed insulation everywhere, and you could fall through the floor if you were to go into that area of the attic. So for years we've lived here and had attic access, but then this past year they had a inspector come to the house, and he said that we would have to lose attic access if there wasn't, the floor wasn't covered with like an actual floor. So if that wasn't to happen, then we would have to have the attic locked off from us and we wouldn't have access to it. So then where are we going to put all of our shit? We've got all of this stuff that we've been putting in the attic, and then all of a sudden we're either going to lose the access and have to put the shit downstairs, which we would just clutter our whole fucking apartment up, or figure out a way to have the floor put down. So the people that own this house didn't want to pay to put flooring down, so they was just gonna have us lose the attic access. Like, fuck us, I guess. So we had to do it our fucking damn own selves. And I know that sounds crazy because we do not own this place, but we signed a deal saying that we were allowed to make these modifications ourselves, and we were responsible for ourselves if we were to be hurt or injured while working. But we went to Home Depot, bought the supplies and materials ourselves, got these OSB boards, and screwed them into the beams of the house and put down flooring. I'm not a very experienced person when it comes to construction work, handyman, like fucking like woodwork stuff. But my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, helped us do this, and he knew more about it than I did. I just mainly was his assistant, more or less. I was there with him the whole way. We had saws up here and like a saw table, and we would like make cuts, and like we'd have to stop working at nighttime because it would be too loud for the other tenants, and we would often get late starts in the day. We had to do this starting in December, basically the same time as the tuberculosis medicine regimen started. And it snowed big snowstorms a couple of weekends, so we lost entire weekends where we could work. On top of this, and like my brother-in-law knows this anyway, that he just goes about things in like a slower manner than most. So we worked at his pace, and maybe it should have taken a couple of weekends, but this project took as long as the tuberculosis medicine regimen took, from like all of December to all of January, and then like the beginning of February we were finally done with this, and every spare moment was being put into working on this attic. And then obviously we're not doing this on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, or was during the holidays. So those were days where we lost time to work on it. But yeah, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, my whole like full long weekend was spent up here with miter saws, and it was amazing as it was coming together, like the progress, but it was very hard fought, and it was a lot of undertaking. So between those two things alone, I was very busy, and I was like, you know what, working on a Toon Tuesday every Tuesday on top of that stuff was like, no thanks. It can be very tedious animating Toon Tuesday. So I gave myself a small vacation away from having to be obligated to do the YouTube videos. And so here we are. It puts us out at February. I'm done with the attic work. I'm done with the health care of the latent tuberculosis medicine regimen. And then what happens? My pet rabbit Lola gets sick, and she's an 8-year-old rabbit. And just to give you some perspective on how important, my pets are to me, I have a pet rabbit named Lola and a cat named Amelia. And so basically what Haley is to Eminem, Lola is like that for me. I found out Lola was sick. We noticed that she stopped eating her treats. And we took her to an exotic veterinarian, and they took some x-rays and found that she had a blockage, a stasis, if you will, in her intestines were being kinked off by we had never had her fixed, so she had a tumor on her uterus. And I was very upset during this time. I cried a bit. I thought that might have been the last time I was going to see Lola. Okay, I was trying to come to terms with the fact, is this the last time I'll see Lola? So Lola had to go in for a surgery, and luckily they came back with the news that she had made it through the surgery. And during this time post-surgery, we had to give these huge syringes of fluids and take needles and tint her skin up in the back. And I would say, life is short, tint it. It was my little thing I'd say when we administered this. Anyway, we'd get up early before work every morning and pump in these big cc's of fluids, and then we would heat this applesauce consistency food mixture of mushed up hay, and give her these syringe feedings, just squirt food right into her mouth so that she would eat. basically force feeding her to eat, and she didn't like being force fed. Obviously, who would? And like, but actually, she was pretty good about calming down and taking the food. But sometimes she would fight it at times. Pets, they're hard to sometimes get them to take medicine and this and that. So that was like weeks and weeks of like getting up early and like feeding my rabbit force-fed food with a syringe and like injecting these needles of fluids into her back, and her poop production returned to normal, and Lola, she had gotten past the surgery and all that, and like her whole uterus is just gone now, and she was a healthy rabbit once again. So that's great, A couple of short weeks later, she had another GI stasis. The first time she had the surgery, we went on Facebook and was publicly like, whatever we said, prayers for Lola, she's having a surgery, keep us in your thoughts, just so you guys are aware, our friends and family, let them know. She got sick a second time. Basically, the second time she had a kidney stone is what happened. And the reason why that happened was because rabbits eat Timothy hay. It's a type of hay that rabbits eat, and that's our main diet. But there's also alfalfa hay, and the doctor recommended that we feed this to Lola post her surgery of removing her tumor, because it's got protein, and protein will be good for helping her incision site in the healing process. So we're feeding her alfalfa hay. But in addition to alfalfa hay having protein in it, it also has loads of calcium. So Lola developed a big calcium deposit of a kidney bladder stone. Luckily, so we took x-rays again, and the doctor told us to stop feeding the alfalfa hay at that point, and hopefully the stones would just pass on their own. If not, then we were looking at a second surgery for Lola to get rid of kidney stones that have now developed. So then the syringe feedings had to commence again every morning, again, after we thought we had gotten past that and we're done, for a couple of weeks straight. It was actually 2 or 3, it might have been a whole month. All this time has like just elapsed, and we were feeding her these syringe feedings. At this point, from June 1st for a week, we had a Disney World vacation planned, and it looked like we were going to have to had canceled it, which sucks, because like, you spend a lot of time planning a vacation, and then to just have it be like, oh, you gotta fucking not go to that shit. But luckily, we ended up hiring a rabbit sitter that worked at the veterinary hospital. We didn't have to board Lola in the hospital, because, that can be stressful for an animal to be in like just some cold cage, not at their own home. So they came to our house, which was great, and the girl was very nice, and we liked her a lot, and she came right to our place every day while we were away at Disney World, so we were able to go on our trip after all of this other like stressful things in life. We were able to go and like have a great ass time in Disney World for a week. It was awesome. And we also have these cameras that are in our house that are like, they look like little webcams, and we've got 4 of them, and it was like $100 on like President's Day or something like that. It was a deal. And on an app on our phone, it's called like Yee something maybe, or I don't remember what the app is called, but these cameras work in conjunction with this app, and we can keep an eye on our pets while we're away. So yeah, I mean, like, we love our pets a lot, so we want to make sure that they're well taken care of. So I'm happy to say that Lola is doing great again. We came back from the Disney World vacation and she had a follow-up appointment. And the doctor didn't see any stones, kidney stones. So that was great. Because that's what we were worried about. Like, we weren't sure if she had passed them or not. And if not, then another surgery. But no second surgery was needed. And so yeah, Lola got sick twice. I had latent tuberculosis, and I had to fucking slave away on an attic for like months on end. So yeah, I mean, I could have fucking, like, on top of all that, still tried to shoot and edit videos, but like I had to have a break from that. I love making content, and it's not like, oh, I can't stand to do this horse shit, but I had a lot of bullshit going on, and much of this whole beginning of this first year fucking sucked, and everybody has bad shit that happens to them, but and every year kind of sucks in its own way, but this year particularly fucking sucked so far. But I've had good times sprinkled in there. So on top of all of that other bullshit that had happened, there was also all of, like, the family issues that I had going on simultaneously with all of that. And I'm not even going to get into the details of all of what that was. But there you go. Again, excuses. But we've got this content coming back. And that's what I'm here to really say. I hope that you've stayed with me for the whole video and you've enjoyed me catching you up. I hope you weren't bored of it. So if you stayed the whole time this far, thank you so much. And I'm just here to say that you need to be on the lookout for the new channel, Juggalos Review, coming out very soon. It is like 90% there. I just need to work out a couple details, and it's going to be glorious. And then Toon Tuesday coming back. Yes. And then there's other content that'll be still coming from Ross TV. Don't worry about that. Ross TV's not going anywhere. So we've got a brand new channel, Juggalos Review, and Ross TV. And this is Sidetracked. And I'm signing off.